Life seemed ordinary for two college roommates who couldn't have been more different. One a sharp-minded computer genius who preferred staying behind a screen, the other a former soldier haunted by his past, but loyal to the core. Their friendship began over small things like late-night pizza runs and study sessions, but it quickly deepened into brotherhood. One night, after stumbling upon an abandoned bag on the subway, curiosity drove them to open a laptop hidden inside. What they discovered inside was far from ordinary, an encrypted file that hinted at a dangerous underground operation. Neither of them realized at that moment that their lives were about to change forever. A single decision to dig deeper pulled them into a dark world they were never prepared for. The bond of friendship that once brought laughter would soon be tested in the fire of survival. The file was unlike anything they had seen before: strings of codes, maps of U.S. cities, and lists of names that didn't make sense. When the tech genius cracked a portion of the encryption, the horrifying truth surfaced. These were plans of a powerful criminal syndicate embedded across America. The syndicate was ruthless, dealing in arms and corruption, controlling shadows of the city from the underground. Soon after, they noticed men in black SUVs watching their dorm, tailing them from block to block. What began as curiosity spiraled into danger. Fear crept in, yet adrenaline fueled their determination to expose the truth. They thought calling the police would save them, but something felt wrong. The surveillance didn't stop. That night, as footsteps echoed outside their apartment and knocks rattled their door, they realized the enemy knew exactly who they were. It was no longer about discovery. It was about survival. Their first real taste of danger came during a late-night drive through Brooklyn. Spotting headlights in the rearview mirror that never seemed to fade, they pushed their old car faster, weaving through traffic. But the tail tightened. Suddenly, gunfire shattered the silence, bullets tearing into metal as chaos erupted on the highway. In seconds, the chase turned deadly. Swerving off into a narrow alley, their car smashed against a dumpster, leaving them bruised but alive. Panic shot through their veins as they scrambled out, running on adrenaline and instinct. The former soldier's training kicked in. He led them through back streets, over fences, and into abandoned buildings to shake the pursuit. Breathing heavily in the shadows, the tech genius realized the weight of the danger they were in. This was not just surveillance anymore. The syndicate wanted them silenced. Their only choice was to keep moving, to keep fighting, and to trust only each other. As the days unfolded, paranoia set in. People they trusted began acting strangely. Neighbors who avoided eye contact, professors who suddenly distanced themselves, and even classmates whispering behind their backs. The tech genius suggested going to federal authorities, but his best friend, with the instincts of a soldier, sensed infiltration even at the highest levels. Tension grew between them, arguments sparking in their hideouts as exhaustion and fear gnawed at their loyalty. Yet, deep down, both knew that trust in each other was all they had left. In one desperate attempt, they reached out to an old army contact, hoping for safe passage out of the city, but the contact never showed. Instead, armed men stormed their safe house, forcing them to flee once again. Betrayal was closing in from every corner. Surrounded by lies and hunted relentlessly, the question hung heavy. Who could they really trust? The answer remained only one another. Realizing they could no longer run, the friends decided to go on the offensive. Armed with scavenged weapons and makeshift gear, they traced the syndicate's digital trail to a warehouse hidden along the docks of New Jersey. The night was damp and heavy, the air thick with tension as they infiltrated the compound. Inside, they found crates stacked with explosives, illegal weapons, and files tying corrupt officials to the syndicate. Before they could escape with evidence, alarms blared, and the building lit up with armed guards. Gunfire erupted, echoing across the docks. The soldier moved like a storm, disarming attackers, firing with precision, while his friend provided cover using improvised traps and quick thinking. Chaos spread. Explosions tore through the night, flames engulfing the warehouse. But victory came at a cost. Both were injured, bloodied yet alive, clutching evidence that could destroy the syndicate. They had chosen war, and there was no turning back. But the war grew darker when they discovered betrayal closer than they could have imagined. A friend from their college circle, someone they had trusted with their fears, had been leaking their locations to the syndicate all along. The betrayal stung more deeply than bullets. That night, Ambushed in a rundown motel, they found themselves cornered by mercenaries. Outnumbered and outgunned, the soldier made a split-second decision. He tackled the attackers head-on, absorbing the danger so his friend could escape. The sound of gunfire filled the room as chaos exploded. For the first time, the tech genius felt the weight of helplessness, realizing his best friend was risking everything to keep him alive. Crawling through shattered glass and smoke, he barely escaped, haunted by the sight of his friend surrounded, fighting against impossible odds. The truth was brutal. Their enemies weren't just criminals. They were everywhere, and survival meant sacrifice. Bruised, hunted, and desperate, the friends regrouped for one final stand. Through encrypted signals and stolen intel, they learned the syndicate's leader would be at an abandoned steel factory outside the city. It was their last chance. With limited weapons and nothing left to lose, they stormed the factory under the cover of night. The battle that followed was unlike any they had faced. Mercenaries swarmed, fire crackled, and bullets screamed through the air. The soldier fought with every ounce of his training, while his friend used quick thinking to sabotage generators, plunging the factory into chaos. In the heart of the inferno, they came face to face with the syndicate's ruthless leader. A brutal fight erupted, steel clashed, fists flew, and blood spilled on cold concrete. Exhausted and near defeat, the soldier shielded his friend from a fatal strike, taking the blow himself. It was a sacrifice that would define their friendship forever. As dawn's first light pierced the horizon, the steel factory stood in ruins, smoke curling into the sky. Federal agents finally arrived, too late to stop the bloodshed, but just in time to apprehend what was left of the syndicate. Among the wreckage, the tech genius knelt beside his wounded best friend, holding him with trembling hands. Tears blurred his vision as he whispered, "You saved me." The soldier, barely able to speak, managed a faint smile and said, "That's what friends do." Sirens wailed in the distance, but in that moment, silence carried more weight than sound. They had fought, bled, and nearly died, but the bond between them had proven unbreakable. Years later, when they would tell their story, it wasn't about the battles, the betrayals, or even the danger. It was about one truth that stood above all: true friendship can be stronger than death itself.